do that. So a very warm welcome to every one of you. I hope that you've had a great week. You've been able to reflect on some of the things that we have continued to share on these webinars, and today we'll be able just to complete module 3. Whoever thought, like what Jen has said, that succession planning would be a three-part series. So I'm happy for the ones who have joined from the beginning. It's never too late to join at any point, because Dan has said the notes are available online after this, and you still earn your CPD point. We are able to interact with each other. We're able to interact on the chat group. I'll be able to look at it from time to time. So for me, it's a real warm welcome to all of you. So I'd like people to unmute themselves and to say good morning, and to hear everybody's expectations on this webinar. We have until 11:30 to run through the webinar in a way that people will feel that they have really taken good points home. So very warm welcome to everybody. I would like to open the mic. Please just chime in with your greetings and with your expectations. So I can see Grace, I can see Jackie, I can see Job, I can see Josephine, I can see Lillian, Margaret, Nelly, Priscilla, Sarah. That's a Gmail, wincon@gmail.com. So please feel free to unmute yourself, say good morning, and also tell us your expectations for this webinar for today's morning. Before I start recapping on last week's, the last two series, and then we can dive deep into the last series. Unmute yourself. And also let us know whether it's you're joining or today for the last, today is your first day, or you've been able to, I want to put you on the spot right now in terms of telling us a recap. It's just today's expectations. Please unmute yourselves. And I hope you have your favorite beverage. I know it's early in the morning. I hope you have some tea, some coffee, some hot chocolate, whatever you fancy. Some uji is good, or some cereal, or some water with you, just to energize you in your in the comfort of your home. Sarah Sayo, start us off. Maybe even with a word of prayer then. It's good to pray. Sarah, do you want to pray for us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you.
Okay, let us pray. Father, it is in the name of Jesus Christ we come before you this morning. We thank you. We glorify your holy name for yet another wonderful day. This morning, as we embark to learn, dear Father, may you grant us understanding, and may you also give guidance to Catherine as she leads us through this training, and may we live to glorify your holy name. Give us knowledge that we may be able to apply these learnings in our workplaces and in various aspects of our lives. It is in the name of Jesus Christ we pray and believe. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate, it's always good to put ourselves in the hands of God just for him to direct us. Thank you. Okay, so I would like to hear people's expectations today. Unmute yourself, what you've been able to learn, your expectations for today, in the last and final series of succession planning. Someone? Lilian Murioki? Anyone, please? Anyone? Please unmute yourself. Let's engage, guys. Let's engage. Jackie or Grace, Barbara, welcome. Someone needs to rename themselves. It's here, Galaxy Tab A.
Good morning.
Hi, Priscilla. Morning. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. My week was great. I thank God for the rains and peaceful work.
Yeah.
Working environment. Yeah. I missed my first training, but I managed to catch up last Saturday. And this week I expect to learn more, because last week I really learned more and also new words from the training.
That's good. Yeah, fantastic. What were the new words you learned from the training?
I learned about the CFR. Yeah, conversation feedback,
and
conversation feedback and recognition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I also learned about a site where I can get information about the future. Yeah. The economic survey. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Great.
expecting
Yeah.
to learn. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So welcome. Yeah. Learn more. Just a recap on your last week's whatever. Yeah. Okay. Great. Alice, you can unmute yourself, say hello, and tell us your this week's expectations. Alice Mayaka.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, I expect to cap up the training with the practical setup of planning, succession planning in the organization. We got the steps from the previous lessons, but I expect some practicum of the real life situation, some examples. Thank you.
Some real good examples of succession planning. I like that. Thank you, Alicia. Someone else? Recap. Where we've come, where we have been, today's expectations. Someone else? Someone else? A recap of today's lesson, of last week's lessons and today's expectations. Josephine Kure, Lillian Marioki, Margaret Gishoke, just in no order. I'm just picking names as they are on the participants list on this webinar. Okay, great. So we'll continue with the discussion. So feel free to chime in anytime as we go along with this webinar. So the first one, we defined what succession planning was. We saw how it actually drives the organizations, the benefits of succession planning. We also just invigorated around people's perception of succession planning, the fears around succession planning, organizations which have been able to have good succession planning, what it means for them, some of the frameworks that we can put in place for succession planning, really good objectives around, and also how you can come up with a policy of succession planning. But one of the things that we kept discussing and redefining was things around culture. Culture really drives the organization in terms of the direction, in terms of its success, the strategies that it has put in place for us to be able to be successful. So those are some of the things that we cannot we cannot forget, because then if we have a good culture, it means that us as HRs are brave enough to come and say, it's time for us to start thinking about this big thing called succession planning. We don't have it strongly anchored in our policies or in our system. And how can we go about doing that? Then it becomes more real, and you can have those discussions without you feeling, well, people are taking positions and people are thinking, well, it's time, I might lose my job. You want to elevate my junior and stuff like that. So, and we also said, how about if you don't have succession planning, you going to your line manager and your peers and to to people that can welcome this topic in a subtle way. And I don't know whether any one of you has been able to do that. Just saying, what do you think if you were not in this position? Who do you think would take your position? And again, us looking at critical positions in our organization, very, very important. How does that really gel into the organization continuity without leaving any gaps? And those are some of the things that really every day you must be able to look into that. But again, succession planning is in the middle because everything else is anchored around that. We look at recruitment, we look at performance management, we look at learning and development, we look at compensation and benefits. So when you look at succession planning, it being the dot in the middle, then everything else revolves around it, because then we are looking at people, and we are looking at people who are ready now, people will be ready in 6 months, people will be ready in 2 years, and people will be ready in 5 years. So extremely important. So those are some of the things. And I like to start with stories. I love stories. I think stories are really powerful, and they are ways of us being able to look into the topic that we are discussing. Just last week I was privileged to sit in a panel that was recruiting a senior position for Africa, and we got candidates coming to interview. And we decided to do a pressure interview. I don't know whether you know about pressure interviews. Pressure interviews, you have to be very careful around how you do a pressure interview, because it's good to a certain extent. So I had to actually guide the panel, because the hiring manager said, no, I want a pressure interview. And we said, okay, fine, the good, the bad, the ugly of pressure interviews. And we agreed, yeah, these people need a pressure interview. So, and of course, pressure interview is not where you interject with sternness to the candidates. It's really poking holes into what they are saying and pushing them back and really telling them, what if that was not to happen? What would, in my opinion, this is what I think, and to let them think on their feet, and to see how they actually act under pressure. So that you have to learn that style of interviewing, and I'm sure from time to time. So it's not being mean, it's giving the candidate the opportunity to finish, but soon after you poke holes into what they have said, or the discussion on the table. So we went to pressure interview for the candidates. And of course, some fell on the wayside because we thought, well, they were not good. But unfortunately, out of all those candidates that we interviewed, we didn't get a candidate. And we thought that they were sterling performers for that position. Of course, we were disappointed. And I thought, was it not done right? Was the sifting not done right? But the sifting was done right. Very competitive position. It's a very coveted position as well. So everybody wanted to get the position. But unfortunately, we didn't get a candidate. And I asked the panelists, and I told, so why do you think I didn't get the candidate? And I was always the last one to go to give feedback on the candidate, because then as an external person, I want them to hear what they have to say. And sometimes don't ever let the hiring manager go first. I hope you know that the hiring manager should always reserve his comments after everybody else has said. Because sometimes when the hiring manager says something, people start changing their positions. This is how I saw about this candidate, this, whatever. But if the hiring manager says, oh, this is a very good position, and you are not in a safe space, so to speak, people tend to change their positions and whatever. So always let the hiring manager go last. So last, and then after that, HR can also make their final comments. So after they had said that, and well, maybe that first candidate, and then I threw the fire in the works. I told them, I don't think any one of them is ready now in terms of where you are and what you expect in terms of this role. So we started that discussion, and that discussion went into succession planning. someone is leaving the position, a very good person, all of a sudden, you've not been making your people ready. It was really live home. And then out of that, discussions around how do you do succession planning? Are you in a position to come and help us? That's how anyway you get business, in quotes and quotes. So that's story for another day. But I just want to say that during interviews, you must be able to really commend people who are ready now. And even at the end of that interview session, you should be able to say that Catherine will be ready in 2 years. What we saw, Catherine will only be ready in 2 years. Catherine will be ready in 5 years. And that's how now we started looking at how to grow these people internally. And I said, what have you done? Apart from really getting them the exposure that they need for their current roles, what else have you been doing? You've been mentoring them, but you've not been getting them ready for this big role. You can continue having incremental roles. If they're looking after Kenya, and they've been looking after Uganda, give them the greater East Africa, add for them Sudan, add for them Southern Sudan, add for them Congo, add for them Rwanda. You get what I mean? So incremental, but you've just brought them on the table, and now you have the hard decision, the hard conversations to have with them, that none of them will pass this interview. So the idea of succession planning and get people ready is real. And we can see that we went fishing, we didn't get anybody because they were not ready. So real life experience of actually it happened on Thursday this week. So anybody with a case like that who has experienced anything like that? Did you take it now through succession planning? Did you put other systems or programs in place for these people, especially if it was internal? They were not external people. These were external people. And of course, I'm just thinking, well, they won't be too happy, but that's the reality of the matter. Anybody who would like to share? Or what do you think? Do you think that that was good? What do you think the candidates will think when we give them back the feedback? Do you think they'll think it is fair? Anybody? Please unmute yourself. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Feel free to unmute yourself. Just giving feedback or just giving your comments around what the happenings of this week. Please contribute, or even say, well, it was crap. What you did was crap, Catherine. It was not good. It's fine to give feedback like that as well.
Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
All right. So, good morning, everybody. I've listened to that story you have given us for the last week with interest. First of all, let me hope that you will actually call these people and give them the feedback and go further and tell them the why of why they did not get the position. As you're saying, it's a coveted position, but you need to tell them what they need to do so that they can get it next time. And then other than that, hearing that the candidates were not ready and yet they were shortlisted, there seems to be a disconnect somewhere there. Because at the point of shortlisting, it should have been picked that there's something that these candidates are lacking. And then on top of that, I think when I look at having to sit down for a senior role interview, it means that you had some very heavyweights sitting on that panel. I'm just thinking about, first of all, the time that was taken. Second of all, that whole exercise was although it was a learning learning, there was lots of time wasted there. That is my feedback on that.
Yeah, definitely the candidates will get the feedback. And remember that they were internal candidates. So you think, well, they've been working in this department, they have the number of experience to be able to do it. They've worked closely with the person who is taking up another position, and well, they need to express themselves. But when you come, well, different strokes completely, yeah. They could do the job, but it will take them a long time to be successful in that role. Yeah, so I totally agree. Definitely feedback will go back, and I will be able to, I mean, I took it upon myself to say, allow me to, with the line manager, to be there when you're giving that feedback, so that I can also re-emphasize some of the things that we see that you need to do as an individual to be able to get there. Someone else, thank you for that. I agree. Someone else? Anybody else around succession planning? Please unmute yourself. Anybody? Meshach, Mary, Rose, Anna, Mercy, anybody? Collins, Sabrina, Doreen, anybody? With some good feedback around that. You go fishing, sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're not successful, and you look back and say, wow, what should we have done better? Okay, so thank you. Always feel free to chime in as we go along. Okay, so module 3, our expectations, and today just recapping and upping our game to what it is, and it will be more of a recap and looking at some of the things that we need to do around advanced workforce planning. So, okay, so let's discuss this, and I'll put it up so that we're able to really engage and to see from where we are coming from to where we should be, and also look at ourselves as individuals of how we plan succession planning at our workplace, and also then look deeper into the organization that you work in and see whether that is happening, or whether you are trying to be the strong HR business partner that we want you to be, whether you are still from or whether you are already into. So the evolution of succession planning, it's incremental. It continues. It's not one day and say, oh, so this 1 week, you know what? My time, I've blocked it for just succession planning. It's pieces that you pick there and there and there and put them together. You could have a good policy, but if it's not progressive and it's not continuous, then we lose the momentum, because succession planning is every day. It goes hand in hand with what I said last week, the last 2 seminars we've been here. I said succession planning goes hand in hand with performance management. Performance management every day, looking at what we are doing. Succession planning, looking at the people that we want to make sure that they are ready for the next role. So that's very important. The practice of succession planning has evolved significantly over the last few decades. The image given below shows a few dynamic changes to the approach of succession planning that has evolved over the last few years. And you will agree with me, especially now. Do you believe that we are in the 4th industrial revolution? We are already there, that we are looking at data and how data will inform how we do things. We have all these things, Internet of Things, machine learning, AI, analytics, things that really makes our life easier. So that we'll continue making sure that we upskill and we are reskilling the workforce. Those are 2 things that we also need to look out for. So it's not an annual event. Selection of placement, focusing on senior roles only, and we have said that it's from the bottom to the top, because people continually move, and we want to make sure that even the lowest cadre of people in the organization are actually also looked into. You remember where we said again, and I have said it again, that it's not a standalone program. All these other programs have to come in. You know, your recruitment, your performance management, your learning and development, your compensation and ben, your employee relations, everything that is really done at HR. ROI, return on investment into the future. It is not that. So where we should be right now, and I want us to have this discussion, is it an ongoing process at your workplace? Or have you even begun from, are you still, even if you've not begun, you're still thinking, well, I need to make it now happen, and I've not even begun. So don't worry, you don't even have to begin from, you have to begin from 2. And creation of a leadership pool, extending into mid and lower level management, because we say that mid management and lower management is where it all happens in the organization. Top leadership sets the pace, it sets the tempo for how the organization is going to run. And then after that, really, they set the bigger vision, they set the strategy. And then after that, the people who really execute are mid and lower management levels. Part of integrated strategy for managing talent and return on investment now and into the future. So do we see that really happening in the organizations? And this is not an isolated of saying, oh, only corporates, Fortune 500 companies are the ones who can do this. We all have the opportunity in whatever industry you work in, whether you have, it's in the donor world, the NGO sector, whether it's in the government industry, whether it's in corporate, whether it's small SMEs that are family owned, all this can really work. So, and I know last week we also had a discussion around the NGO, where people are always moving. Even if people are moving because a contract has ended, a program has ended, we still have the opportunity to make sure that these programs are in place. And we are looking, because there are some people, like the support services are there. Some technical positions might really drop from time to time, but our core strength, our core business, if we're in the sector of health, what are you doing to make sure that you have the best talent in health? If you're in education, what are you doing in the donor world to make sure that you are the best in there, that you are attracting the best talent, and you are making sure that you're always winning awards and these people are staying with you? So to make sure that succession planning is starting. So we can see from where we're coming from, and to make it practical at our workplace. Are these things ongoing? Are you able to do them? Are there any challenges that you would like to pose here and see how you can do it? Do you believe that from 2 is where you should be, or you're still stuck at from? I would like to hear some of the things. Please unmute yourself and let's have a discussion from 2. Unmute yourselves, please. Is it very hard to convince management return on investment is now and not into the future? And how do you convince them on that? Please unmute yourselves. Let's have some case studies. Let's have some people unmuting themselves, please. I love when people participate, and I'm sure that's learning, really good learning really takes place when we all participate. Someone, even if it's just, well, I've not done it, but I'm doing it. I want to do it, you know. Anyone? Anyone, please? Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said even if you want to do it, I think I would want to do it. I would want to do it. In the organization I work, we just discovered the other day the legal officer has been appointed an attorney general in one of the county governments. And he was the one leading the process of some review of some acts.
We lost you, Alice, there, reviewing some acts.
Sorry, I want to go and... Am I there?
Yeah, we lost you from your legal officer has been appointed to another job and he was reviewing some acts.
Yes, yes.
And?
So I think this issue of succession planning is very real and it's very important. And I will have to work very hard to see that it is taken up seriously. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So does that mean, Alice, that you don't have another legal person in the organization? When he leaves, then you will be forced to start from searching and recruiting another person?
No, we shall not start from scratching. There are other legal officers, but he was the one leading the team. And I'm also new in the organization, so I don't know how close to him the others are. But I think the idea of giving them, there are others who are quite good. I'm thinking, like, is there a particular one who is earmarked maybe by the management that if this one goes, this is the one who can take over? You know, having a specific one or a group of them whom you can say can take over. I'm not sure of that, but there are others. Yeah.
That's good. But Alice, what is your role you said that management will look? What is your role as HR in making sure that you are giving the technical advice that is required for replacing of this position? So we are 5 of us.
Sorry.
How will you pick one person over the other?
Okay, I'm not HR. I'm in a commission. So because they are aware I used to be in HR, I'm asked to advise sometimes. So I called the HR the first week I was there, and I had a long talk to find out what systems are in place and what is happening, what is not happening. So I'm new in the place. Also, I need to understand the culture of the acceptability of proposals, but I'm supposed to spearhead and advise on HR matters.
Fantastic. So
I'm going to use this and I might look for you on the side chat for more help.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Yeah. So
I'm
you see,
about 2 months. Is it 2 months or 3 months old? In that
okay, that's good.
I'm a retiree, and I'm in a board. It's a board. And they kind of look and say, can you help us here and there?
Okay.
I was just quoting that example.
That's a good example. And it's a great example where someone leaves and they've been doing work that is extremely important for the organization. And you are thinking, oh my gosh, they've left. What do? We quickly sometimes give them counter offers. Tell someone who has been in that situation where this person is leaving. They cannot leave. They were working on this system. They're working on this. They are good. Can we please give them a counter offer? For you see how lack of succession planning actually puts the organization in a difficult situation, an organization in a difficult situation. Critical position, it could be good talent, and then all of a sudden they want to leave. They come and tell you, this person has given me X amount of money and you are giving me this amount of money. Then you go and say, wow, I think we'll give you a counter offer. What happens to your internal salary scales? You start tilting them. You leave all those other people in the same department with such a big gap. And what have you done? Your lack of planning is not an emergency on your part. Their lack of planning. So your lack of planning now becomes an emergency. You see, so there are always effects around not doing succession planning. Anybody else around good skill living? Are you from Are you into the right part of the quadrant? What have you done? Have you had a critical position leaving? Did you give an counter offer? Did they agree to it? And what happened internally? Did it demotivate the other people and stuff like that? Let's talk about those experiences. And I'm sure there are many here. And how did the other people feel? Anybody? Anybody? Guys, let's have a discussion. Anybody? Good learning opportunity around where we are? No? Anybody who would like to contribute? Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. This is Bernard. Mine is just a quick one. I'm just wondering, this issue of a counter offer to an employee who has already set their mind that they're leaving.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine to myself what kind of value they will be adding. I mean, if you're already out through the door in your mind, then you're being pulled back physically with a different package. Are you likely to make any contribution very seriously?
Yeah, good question. Good question. I have no whatever. Can we contribute? Do you think that should we be giving counter offers? Should we be encouraging counter offers? Some managers come and say, no, give them a counter offer. I want them to stay. They cannot go. The MD comes and calls you and says, no, you must give them a counter offer. I want them to stay.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Margaret.
In my view, like what my colleague has also said, I think counter offers are not very good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
In my view, counter offers don't work very well because I think already the person is geared to leave. So what I've seen happening is that the counter offer, I think, even gives them more leverage.
Yeah.
As opposed to working towards leaving. And like what you said, once you give a counter offer, you're left now with the other people also planning on doing the same so they can get a counter offer to also get a higher maybe salary or higher position. So what my organization does that if you want to leave, before you leave, you can talk. But once you say you're leaving, we part ways amicably.
Okay. So do I come and say, well, I'm thinking of leaving. Then you ask me, oh, where will you be leaving to? Because if I'm thinking of leaving, I already have an offer. I can't come and say, I want to leave and I don't have an offer. Someone needs to mute themselves.
It's not I'm thinking of leaving. Yeah. What we encourage is, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. There's a lot of echo. Someone needs to.
There is so much noise from where she is.
Yeah, is it from Margaret's place?
I think it's Margaret. It's not me.
Okay, someone please mute themselves. The gentleman in the background talking. Okay. So let's continue. Maybe it will be better.
Okay. What I was saying, Catherine, is we encourage, like when you're doing the monthly appraisals or the mid appraisals, you talk about how you're feeling. You know, if somebody says, you know what, I'm feeling demotivated, I'm feeling I'm feeling like this person is getting better audience than me. You know, all the grievances that people talk about, that is when you talk about exactly what you want and exactly how you're feeling. So that in 2 months' time, if it's not addressed, for example, you will come back and say, remember we had discussed this. To be honest, I found a better place and I'd want to leave.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything, not when the person is already telling me that this is my resignation, I found a job in the town, that's not when we discuss. We discuss way before, but after they've made up their mind, they still want to go. We don't give counter offers.
Yeah, true. There's one thing that I've always encouraged, and I'm as clear as day and night around people wanting to leave and for greener pastures. We should have you remember performance management, and I cannot re-emphasize how strong performance management is in how people feel about working for the organization. If you are not people-centric, I like what you are saying, Margaret, around, this is how I feel. But I don't think we should wait until an appraisal time, which is fine anyway. We can still take it at that time. I think if I don't feel good today, you didn't treat me right today, I should be able to tell you, hey, boss, at an appropriate time, I don't feel that you treated me right today. I gave this assignment all my best, but you didn't seem to have appreciated the kind of work that I brought in. Or I'm having this problem, and I would want you to empathize until I'm back on my feet for me to be really back to where you think I should be. So giving feedback, the two-way feedback, without the employee feeling that they'll be victimized, or they will feel that they'll start managing me out because I assert myself in my position, in my feelings, the way this place, I don't feel motivated and stuff like that. So HR, we should be really, the core business we should be having is to create organizations which are people-centric. That we can talk, that there is no underhand, there is no current. And I know that is not, I'm talking as if I live in Kusadikika and Utopia. You get what I mean? But we can create those environments and those programs, and people are able to talk. And it's all of us, we're in it together. You get what I mean? When we all know that we're in it together, I'm also an employee here, you're also an employee here, you've got a much more senior position, rank comes with privileges, but with a lot of responsibilities as well. We need to have those conversations, because when someone wants to leave, they will say, you know what, competition called me the other day. I said, who is telling you that? Not in my organization, or even in other organization. Catherine, guess what? I'm thinking of leaving my organization. Not that it's a bad place, but I'll earn more money. It's a more senior position, and whatever you start thinking. And I said, have you told your organization? I said, no, they won't take it kindly, And some people will come to HR and say, you know what? I'm thinking of leaving, and I want you to give a mock interview to me. Let's do a dry run. Have you ever had those opportunities? Or your organization is whatever. I always tell people, and I said this in town hall meetings, and you can attest to anywhere that I have these programs, is that if you want to leave, please come to me as Catherine. In my own capacity as Catherine, then don't even think I'm HR. Come to me as Catherine and tell me, Catherine, I'm thinking of leaving. Don't even tell me the organization that is attracting you, but come, I give you a mock interview. Come and give me a mock interview. And why I want to do that is to protect the image of my organization. Because I don't want someone they go and interview with Barbara and they say, this is the kind of caliber that Catherine employs. You get what I mean? This is the kind of caliber that people are in that organization. I don't want that. First, I want to protect my brand. I want to protect me as HR. And I also want to protect you as the individual so that you don't go and goof. So if you create those kind of, especially the millennials who you see, well, we'll start moving after 5 years because there's no opportunity. Don't feel too bad losing if really they are going to do something that you cannot provide for them. But not to say that you should not have strong retention programs in your organization. So I like the discussion around counter offers. And I don't think we should really encourage counter offers, because then it creates an opportunity, an avenue. You've already set a precedent that, well, oh, they're leaving. Okay, even me, I can leave. and I'll be given a counter offer. So people use you as a stepping stone to get to the level. You destabilize your salary scales, your bandwidth and stuff like that, and you're not able to justify it. I think that is important. But sometimes really, you might also look at the circumstances around the business and say, well, maybe it's important for us to do that. Yeah. Anybody feedback? Has anybody come to you and said they want to leave and have that discussion? They were in the succession planning pool. Why would they want to leave? Someone needs to mute themselves, please. Someone needs to mute themselves. Thank you. So anybody around that discussion that we have had? Counter offers, is it important? Is it necessary? Should we encourage it? At what level should we be encouraging it? Are you also thinking of leaving? Are you also thinking of leaving? Anybody? Anything that you can add towards that? Or do you feel that it's an ongoing process for you? Anyone? Priscilla? No? Anyone? Okay, great. Feel free to chime in. So let's move ahead. So from evolution, we know that it's an ongoing process every day, and look into that in your organization. And we must also look at the return on investment that is really now and into the future. So it's not something that we are waiting to see into the future. We must see it working for us right now. Okay.
Catherine, just a question.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I was just wondering, you are saying in the two, return on investment now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to imagine we are talking about succession planning, which means probably we are investing in someone today for purposes of reaping the benefits in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, when you say that there is ROI now,
mm-hmm.
How do you look at it? How do you probably measure your return on that investment in this person who you expect to occupy a higher position in the future? And you are able to assess and evaluate and establish that you have a return on that investment you're putting on them.
Yeah. Very good question. I really like it. Thanks for bringing it to the fore. So return on investment for now, it's really for now. So return on investment is not just monetary bottom line, in terms of profit of where you are. You're looking at return on investment in your retention strategies and in your engagement levels in the organization. So when people are motivated, what happens? I didn't. Is it Meshach who asked that question?
That's Bernard.
Yeah, Bernard. So let's drive it further and say, when people are motivated, what happens?
They perform.
I would want to believe they perform.
Yes, yeah.
There's a high level of performance.
Yeah, high level of
they
performance.
Probably feel at home and, probably get too comfortable and never want to move or grow.
Exactly. They make it home. People, there's efficiency, there's effectiveness, they take more initiative. You get what I mean? So they drive the process. And in that position that they are in, even if they are waiting to be in the next position that becomes available, because they're in the talent pool, you are coaching them, whatever, you've given them some reassurance around that. We are looking at you in being in the succession planning pool. You're already giving them also the opportunity to grow. You're matching them with the people that you think that they'll be working with. You're coaching them, you're mentoring them. So you're upskilling them, you are reskilling them, and at the same time, they are still working. You get what I mean? So all these efficiencies actually come down to your bottom line if you're able to work. So it is now, you understand, it is actually now in terms of what you want to do. Then when they come to do the actual job, they're already ready. So that's what we mean. So it's not like I'm waiting, I am hiding the file, or you know what, Catherine definitely is in the succession planning, whatever, but will not tell them. You know, it's an ongoing process. We're having that discussion. So they become very self-independent. You empower them. They do much more than what was expected of them. And these are the people that really contribute significantly to your bottom line. Is that clear? Clear?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really...
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So thank you. Thank you for that. Any other question? Any other comment?
Hi.
Hi, Carol.
Yes, I just want to add on something just on what you have said and what Bernard has said. Like where I work, we actually have a trainee manager program, and we identify these hardworking individuals, employees in the organization, and we take them in that pool. And because it is a well-organized program, so we train them in each and every department, and we assess them every department. Once they have finished the training of this department, we assess them to see if they have understood, if they are conversant with everything in that department before they move to another department. So with them, they already know that this is actually something that is moving me to a higher position. Yeah. And for sure, they work so hard. They go an extra mile because they are aiming higher. And if they know that actually they are aiming higher, you know, it's not something you are hiding from them. They know that they are in that pool of succession planning team, so they don't disappoint. They actually work so hard, and you can invest on them.
Okay. Ability to invest in them and for them because they know what is in stake for them, and they are also pulling their weight. Yeah. So also it's important to know that it's a two-way traffic. When I decide to invest in you, when the organization decides to invest in you, you must also give back. Honestly, you can't just say, hey, now they have finally seen me. I am the best. I am the best, you know, with your high heels going, you know, going like this all the time or whatever. You must also pull in your weight. I think that's very important, you know. And we talked about attitude and good behavior. So people with good attitude will always be able to do over and above their call of duty, and without they have no pride. They think this is a great opportunity. I'll take and run with them. I'll take and run with it, and I'll always do what is expected of me. So I think we also must make sure that the people that we want to be in our talent, in our succession planning pool, also have the right attitude, understand the business, and they can actually be your strong ambassadors of what you're planning to do. Okay, great. So thank you, Carol. Anybody else? Anybody else? Is it working for you? Is it something that you think that you're going to start doing now? Anything?
I want to point out something.
Yeah.
Yes, now, sometimes HRs are got in a challenge where, you know, there is always sometimes a soft spot for the senior management in an organization. And you find that the boss wants this particular person, and you know that this particular person cannot perform. This particular person is not capable of performing that job, even if you put this person on a succession planning pool. So I went through that, and at some point it was like a fight, and I gave up. I said, okay, I will have these ones, but if you want to add this one, okay, go ahead. And she could not perform. She could not move from one step to the other. And the boss kept on moving the person to the other step. At some point, she reached at the point where she cannot even perform completely. Because where she is, she cannot understand, she cannot conceptualize things. She's in her own world. But because of that soft spot thing, you know, it really puts us at a position where we cannot. I don't know how people are dealing with that thing in the organization where the boss just wants this particular person and not the other.
Yeah. So what happened to the individual? Are they still there? Are they still struggling?
She's still struggling because the boss wants her there.
Yeah.
And she has not moved anywhere. So I'll probably drop her out, but out of a fight, because I cannot move someone who is not doing anything, you know. Yeah.
Okay. And have you had a discussion with the CEO saying that this is what it is, with hard facts, you know, this is the assignment, she's not able to do it? And is the CEO now starting to see that indeed it was the wrong decision for us to make?
What I've done, I have discussed with the boss, and I have taken the individual through performance. As in, yes, just to see where he's struggling and where does she want us to support her so that she can move to another level. So I wanted it to be so documented so that when I go back to the boss again, I see this is where we are. And we are not moving anywhere. And, you know, that thing is really discouraging HRs in organization. I don't know how other people are dealing with it.
See, practical cases of where Alice had said, I want to hear practical cases. Anybody who is facing that, and how have you dealt with it? Please share, because it can really be discouraging. You are the HR, you're trying to do your best, but there's always a bottleneck. You've been given someone who you know that, and everybody knows that they are not good performers. You know, they just piggyback the 80% that we call the laggards. You know, they are there, but they've been thrown onto you. And in fact, other people in the talent pool are asking, even this one made it. Hey, Nanyini HR. Hey, even this one made it. Okay, then everybody else should have made it. You know, so how do we deal with that? Yeah, how do we deal with that? How are you dealing with that? How have you dealt with that? And you also want to maintain a good working relationship with your CEO without them feeling that you are going against what they want, but it's a wrong decision. And that's real at the workplace. What are we doing? What have you done that made you succeed? Or you decided to look for another job. That's an option, but that's not what we want to hear. That's an easy option. That's not what we want to hear. What did you do? Anyone? Or what would you do? I'm sure someone has an experience of that. What did you do? Please share.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
This is Barbara.
Yeah, hi, Barbara.
So just to add on to what colleague earlier has shared, I think the most important bit in that situation is to ensure that you have the relevant data, for example, in terms of performance management, if there are any areas where there are cost implications and what it has cost the company, so that you have your information on your fingertips. And then now you can have the discussion with your CEO to show them that this person is really not performing and this is what it is costing the organization. And even in terms of how it also affects the other colleagues. For example, in that question where somebody asked that if this person made it through, then all the rest should have done, because that affects the morale of the rest of the team. So I think having the documentation is very important, so that then when you're having that discussion, you're supporting it with facts.
Yeah, true. Supporting it with facts.
Thank you.
Yeah. Someone else? Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, definitely supporting it with facts, coming and saying, this is where we are, this is what we have seen. Perhaps we need to reassign her. She's not ready into this, and we've tried, and also making sure that that person also knows that you are not doing the right thing. You're in this talent pool, but you're not pulling your weight. Someone else? What would you do to the CEO? And what if the CEO is also a difficult person, doesn't want care? You know, I want them. It's your own. Go and figure out how they and then who fails to perform? What is this that is so hard? They have the skills, they have the capacity, they have the experience. What do you mean that they cannot perform? Putting their foot down, almost breathing into your throat. What would you do?
Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Janet.
Yeah, hi, Janet.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah.
Now, this issue of performance, from my experience, in most cases, you find induction of new staff is rarely done. And if it is done, it's not well done. I've had an experience where you have a new employee or even someone transferred from one section to another. You're just given an office, a desk, and then you are told to work. There's no proper induction. So you are struggling. And as you struggle, your performance is being questioned.
Yeah.
So induction is very necessary to ensure that someone settles down in the work and does the work well as required.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Very important. When we feel that even if it's internal transfers from one department to the other, we must make sure that that person has the skill, the knowledge, and the competencies, and they're also interested in doing what they have been transferred to do. That can also be very can backfire on us very, very easily. And I like what you have pointed out, Janet, around induction. Remember, orientation is not induction, where you take someone, oh, this is the exit point, this is your JD, these are your colleagues, let's take you for lunch on the first day. What is that? Nothing. There's nothing that you'll achieve with orientation. You will just tell someone, this is your office, that's it. Induction is a process in which someone says, I want to stay in this organization. That is the objective. If that's not what you have actually anchored your induction on, that I want to stay in this organization, because from the one day, the way you prepare someone to come into the organization, taking them through the tasks, taking them through the strategy, asking back for feedback. 3 months, you're monitoring them very closely. How are you doing? How are you settling in? What are your targets? Are you achieving them with the line manager? So it doesn't spring on us on the last third month or 6 months of their probation and they're not performing. You know, and people make a decision to stay in the organization on the first week of joining. Research has shown, first week of joining, they will make a decision whether to stay or not. So even as you are bringing in the offer, they are still giving a month's notice or 2 months notice, whatever, before they join. Are you engaging them? Oh, I'm sign offer, whatever. They'll find us on the 1st of December. We'll be waiting for them. Take the opportunity within those 2 months. Do be a bit more creative in your induction and bringing them in. We are looking forward to you coming. There are some things that you will need to prepare as you come. These are the things that you will need to prepare. You know, this is what we are doing. We have a meeting that will be happening. Would you be free to join? If not, then we'll send you the materials for you to look at. You get what I mean? Send them a t-shirt beforehand. Send them a mug. We are looking forward to welcoming you to the team. We want to start you feeling as part of the team as you have your coffee. Have it with this one. Be more creative. Create excitement around people's joining, because when they come and find the work that is cut for them, they will say, "Anyway, they did a good job just to make me feel at home. Now let me immerse myself in work." So thank you for bringing out that induction important. And induction is also a process of succession planning. What skills do you bring into the organization? We have only had one person in this department. Now you are coming to join. And we are looking at making sure you work very closely together, because in the event they are not there, you will be the one taking up the role. So we must just don't look at your 1,000 people you work with and just say, there are so many, there's always someone to look after, to join this department or this role when someone leaves. Very important. One of the things that I would like to let you know is that when the MD, and sometimes MDs don't make good decisions and everybody fails, never go back and say, even with your friends, and say, "Sinilimwambia, I told them." Don't use those words, even if you want to use them. How bad? I told you, I knew it was going to fail. Go back with objectivity and saying, I would like us to evaluate this. This is not working. Whilst this decision was made, you did not make this. While you made this decision, don't use whilst this decision was made, unfortunately, it's not a good decision. And I'm telling you that because I want you to be successful in your role. And they are, "Oh yes, Allah, this person has come with new jargon that I have, new discussion that I have not had." Navigate yourself through working with your CEO, no matter how difficult they are. Find a good time, just like anybody else, and just let them know, poor decision. We are owning it as an organization, and we need to offboard this person from this whatever. And let's try something different. They are not ready now. They are not pulling their weight with your facts and figures. They've done this, like what we have said here. They've done this. They've not been able to do this. These are the milestones. She's behind the milestone, 5 points behind. It's not good for her. She's lagging behind. It's making everybody else feels demotivated. Let's try something else different. And sometimes a decision will not be made there and there, and they say, "I would like you to think through it, sleep over it, and I will come back for further discussion." And you go, and guess what? The next time you go, and talent pool, yeah, perhaps, Carol, that will work. And everybody else, I think so. We must look for the business language to talk, and also that individual, talk to them and say, "What would you be struggling with? We see you struggling. I don't think it's right for you to be here. Why don't you consider doing something different or going back to where you are and work from there as we work into progressing you to other things?" Yeah. Question? Or I just live in utopia and kusadikika country? Who did those said books again? Question? Feel free to time in anytime. Okay. So let's move. We just want to look at the parallel approaches to succession planning. Very important again, and let's have the same kind of discussion that we've had around from and to the evolution of succession planning. So what is a parallel approach to succession planning? What would you imagine it to be? I never want it to be theory. I want it to be as practical as it should be. Parallel. A parallel. What is a parallel? The roads go parallel to each other. Parallel in mathematics in school. Anyone?
Maybe you can consider like getting a program at the site that is sort of geared to the same objective. like creating a form of pseudo talent pool that might be where candidates for succession planning may come from. Yeah, that would be my take.
Exactly, yeah. So just having different forms of programs that really run in tandem with the other programs in the organization. So yeah, so we must understand where it's coming from, whether we can use it in our organizations. Some organizations are more agile and they'll be able to embrace it. Some organizations are a bit more traditional, so that they'll take a long time to embrace new things. But when they get there, they really run with it. And sometimes, well, they've been left behind, but they still catch up, you know. But you want to be a trailblazer. I think that's the most important thing. Okay, so today's succession planning is a much more dynamic process that is focused on securing the future talent in the organization. We all know that, yeah? It reaches across levels and boundaries, and it focuses on creating a talent pool that is available to meet the organizational needs at all multiple levels, regardless of the genesis for that need. Very important, you know, this talent pool. Do you have a talent pool right now in your organization? Anyone? Please raise your hands, or it's something that you're struggling with. So please, let's create a talent pool if you don't have that now. So most organizations have started looking at succession planning, and I'm sure many of us here have already started doing that, especially now if you started with the webinars. Planning as parallel process, one focused on addressing immediate succession needs, with the other focused on ensuring an adequate talent pool is available to address needs as they evolve. You remember, it's an ongoing process. So immediate now. So for a position for like a CEO, would it be immediate succession? Would it be an immediate succession need? What do you think? Your thoughts? Your thoughts? Okay. So for all your critical positions should actually have immediate succession needs around talent pools and stuff like that. Anybody who wants to say anything before I move to the next slide? Okay. So these both processes of immediate into the future, this immediate succession needs and other focus with other focus on ensuring an adequate talent pool of availability to address the needs as they evolve. You know, real now and needs as they evolve. We say that organizations keep changing. So during this corona pandemic, the crisis that we got ourselves into, how did you address your talent? Did you feel that you needed to bring talent immediately that was not available in the organization before? Especially the people who quickly had to re-engineer themselves to stay afloat. E-commerce, digital platforms, technology really became very, very alive. And we're just thinking, we need a digital marketer. We didn't have a digital marketer. We didn't know that, you know, and e-commerce strategies to be able to move our goods and services. Anybody who had to bring new talent into the organization during this pandemic crisis, now that we are post, I don't know whether we are into the new normal or whatever it is, but it's here to stay. Anyone? That you've had to reskill, upskill, bring in brand new positions?
I think mainly for the lower cadre market, it has been the IT industry that has actually won during this pandemic, because much as they were, you know, just taken as necessary, a necessary stem or a branch that can come in, now they are so important, because even for, especially for educational sectors had sort of ignored that. So now that they have to deal with learning management systems and, and classes that are in the future probably be empty, IT has become very, very relevant. So different things that people did not know, even titles of some of those IT jobs, now people are having to research and bring them on board.
Very true. You couldn't have put it any better. The education system was thrown into a disarray where, well, it was brick and mortar. Now we are meeting virtually, and teachers had to be upskilled in terms of how to use technology to be able to run their classes virtually and stuff like that. They had to employ stronger IT experts to be able to run their platforms and to be able to put up the platforms for them. So I agree, the IT sector has really seen it and be able to reinvent themselves in the use of technology during this space, and many more. So that's the one area that we can quickly. So do you think let's for a minute talk about the education sector? What do you think, apart from upskilling, do you think that schools have succession planning, education, especially let's talk about schools because it's schools, whatever, whether primary, high school, college, whatever. Do you think they have strong succession planning? Do they have immediate, or do they just run around and make it whatever in a school setting? If it was a case study.
Sorry.
Yes, Catherine?
Yeah, I was saying, having been in the educational sector, I'm still in the educational sector. It's one of those rare cases where, depending on what is being taught, like when you are looking at those old professors, old, they don't even want to touch a mouse. They believe they are just standing schools of thought, Now to get this person to actually now evolve around the industry, IT has become quite a challenge for the educational sector, because you almost have to, because of the kind of talent, the kind of intellectual property that they have, you may have to spend a lot more money just to accommodate their presence inside. And that is probably where this topic of succession planning is very, very key.
Yeah.
Because of that, there's a lot of gaps that are left, and people sometimes are served by the wrong professors. There are also the aspects of the wrong people teaching when they should be in research. So education sector has seen, needs a lot of overhaul, a lot of change, especially in these times.
Exactly. I can attest to that. Around the older generation are really being very afraid of using technology. They know it all, and they can be a bit intimidated. So they bring in a real aloof culture. Instead of trying to help and to help themselves, they hold it with their guards. I know it all, and I'm a walking. I have it all in my head. What are you talking about? And unfortunately, that's not how we are going to improve an institution when people are fearful of use of technology to leverage the business and to be able to move forward. Succession planning as well, in terms of reinventing the changes in the business, can become very difficult because people are just in their own cocoon, what they believe it is, a culture that is very static. They don't want to change and stuff like that. So that, and we all can attest to one professor in your university days who was so, you just think, do I really have to go through your unit? When will you finish? and like just get over and done with it, because then they made it very difficult. Instead of impacting knowledge, they actually made it so difficult for you to enjoy and to get there. So that said and done, there's a lot of research that is going on around an older generation passing the baton of succession planning to the next people, making sure that that is done correctly within the framework of the fourth industrial revolution. So how do we make sure that it's not just the education and the coaching and the know-how, but again, around the changing of times, and how do we make sure that that is embraced, so that as things change, whoever thought Corona would be here and disrupt the economy and things like that around succession planning. So also very important for us to be able to do that. Immediate succession, we do not see that a lot, especially a good example in the education sector, and ensuring that we have an adequate pool of talent. And we know, like what Catherine has said, that these professors should be doing research and other people should be the one teaching. But because we have not done that, so they continue teaching, and I don't know what, it's almost, we need a real overhaul around there. So your immediate succession and your adequate pool of people, and what will you be telling them around that? So those two parallel approaches, how are you making sure that that is being done? So if you don't take anything out of this webinar today around parallel approaches, you must be able to look at it in the organization around immediate succession and an adequate talent pool. In that talent pool, we're also looking at leveraging in what the economy is saying, and through the fourth industrial revolution and changes that can come to disrupt your industry. Will you still be ready, or you'll have to do a totally shift for you to accommodate what has suddenly been thrown onto you, something like the Corona pandemic? Yeah. Anything that anything you'd like to add? What you have experienced, what you have seen, what we are discussing, is that true, or you just think, well, it will happen to me? You remember that the first slide, we are still there. I'll meet it when it's time right for me, I'll catch it and I'll move with it. Anyone?
Yes, Catherine.
Yeah.
My name is Irene. I joined RATE, and I appreciate this very important topic, succession planning.
Yeah.
I work for Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. And I know we had experience, especially this during this time of Corona, to ensure that there is business continuity at the institute, Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. I know the issue of IT, the technology has come hand in, because we had, our CEO had to make a statement that we have even to hold meetings online and ensure that our activities continue. And including, and you're seeing the old people who resist change, we had to empower everyone and make sure that we move as a team. And I'm grateful about the issue of you are teaching us. You are teaching us about having adequate pool of talent, and we've been through mentoring and coaching. We've been bringing a team that we want to mentor so that they take over. The positions that we know that people are exiting very soon. So the technology has really, what I'm saying, technology has really helped us. So we've been able to document, even to do board meetings online, board of management meetings, and and deliberations. We've been able to, the board members have also been able to use this technology, and we are moving on. So that is the experience about Kenya Marine and Fisheries.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us, around where the leader comes and says, that's it, I'm going to cut it over. There's only one approach to doing business, is through technology. all of you find a space and get yourself acquainted very quickly, because we have to run business. So yeah, very, very difficult in terms of where we can be. Yeah, so well done. And we'll continue just to see technology. I guess this year we've never said so many unmute, mute, there's noise in the background. Someone needs to do a research as to how much time it takes of a meeting of 1 hour, how much please mute, please unmute takes out of maybe 15 minutes out of every 1 hour is lost in and I have to leave for another meeting. Oh my gosh, yeah. Anyway, so if you are someone in the entertainment industry, you can make a song on muting and unmuting, and I have to leave.
Okay, can I share?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, I'm in manufacturing, and in as much as people now went into the IT space and people were working from home, you cannot manufacture from home. So we had to be at the plant, and it meant that we quickly had to see how do we put in safety measures and ensure they are adhered to. So we had to look for opinion leaders amongst the staff who are in the production, some of them casuals, and we made them policemen. We called them safety police. And through that whole process, we saw we've come into a place where we have recognized that there are some employees who are underutilized because they have such skill in communicating to staff. Of course, there are those temperature checks, putting distancing, etc. And the ideas that come out of these people, even the police idea came from them. It is refreshing. And from there, we are able to see that there are casuals that we can actually bring up into the organization and do more with them. Yeah, so I think this discussion is very interesting because we have come to realize we always look at succession at the CEO level, at the HOD level, yet we should be looking at it across. And I think this is something you've already told us.
Yeah.
So the safety bit has opened our eyes a lot.
Fantastic, yeah. And we must appreciate that not all industries will have the benefit of working from home. I think that it's not going to work in some industries. Some industries have to be present. And like what we have said, so what does it mean also for those ones which will be present? We have to make some really adequate changes along the line for us to be able to accommodate the business and to also make sure that people are feeling safe. That's very important. And look at champions, one of the things is that if you have not learned anything through this crisis as a business and also as an individual, then you've lost the plot. You've really lost the plot. If like what we have just heard from Irene around, these people, the casuals, really have all these ideas. When we talk to them, even if they are not permanent heads, full-time employees, but they've been able to contribute significantly to how the business should run. Voila! It can come from anywhere. So let's give people a chance to be heard and to make their contribution across board. So nobody is ever too small, nobody is ever too big. And just ask for opinions, even around the table. There's some people who never speak in meetings, just call them out and say, Catherine, what do you think about it? And whatever they say sometimes will surprise all of us and change the whole tangent and the course of what we were discussing. So thank you. Feel free to chime in as we go along. So as we continue to the parallel approaches around immediate now, putting people in the talent pool. So that we are saying that these both processes involve understanding needs and employing strategies to address these needs across different time horizons. Also addressing succession needs a lot, not merely a matter of recruiting and training. So internally, we are saying that we have people who should be who should be whatever, who should be put in the pool. A wide range of strategies can be employed to address succession planning challenges. Hence, when someone leaves a position, organizations do not automatically have to seek to replace that position. What does that mean?
Okay. We are going.
Okay. I was managing my daughter. She's asking whether she can go to her club. What does that mean? So sometimes when someone leaves, have you seen when someone leaves, we try and reorganize that position? Because the business sees the need for that. So always when someone leaves, I always say, how do you want us to backfill this position? Do you see that we need to make a change? Do we need to reorganize that position? Do we need to split that position? But many of the times is that Catherine has left. She was the HR officer. The most important thing is we are replacing the HR officer. Let's move out of that. We must be able to interrogate and say, what are the needs of the business? What are the needs of the organization? What are the needs of this department? So this person has left. Maybe we don't even need it, isn't it? But the most immediate thing is that we need to replace. And some maybe even we go further and say, oh, maybe we can replace internally before we go externally. That's the bit that HR stops at. Today, I would like us to stop that. Someone has left. You must ask, what does the business need this position? Do we need to re-engineer it? Do we need to change the structure and start talking from there? Anybody who does that? And I'm sure we do that anyway. Anybody who does that, but I just wanted to point out. So just don't backfill. It's not about backfilling. It's about the business and the needs of the business. Anyone? Anyone? Tell me? Or we just are quick to whatever. Interrogate. That's why you are there as a strong business partner. That's what call partnering is all about. And start having those discussions with the person who is even leaving and saying, what do you think? You're leaving. How did you see this position supporting the business? Who do you think is a likely person if you don't have succession planning adequately positioned? And do you think that anything different should be done? Interrogate, and with the head of department thinking, and then go back to the people in that department saying, well, we have a position. What do you think? Is it necessary for this department? Do you think we should recruit for it and stuff? Do we ever do that? Or we are quick to do the turnaround?
Yes, Catherine, and say, can I contribute?
Yes.
In Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute, we the last 3 years we noted that there are some positions that we do not need, as there are these lower cadres that were retiring, a lot of them at the same time. So we looked at our mandate, the mandate of the institution. Our mandate is research in marine and aquatic areas. So the management sat and we said we would like to strengthen the research part of it. And so we came up with a strategy that as these lower cadres retire, like if the 3 of them, we can recruit a research scientist. You see, we strengthen our mandate. So we looked at the positions and we said we can outsource these, because even outsourcing is cheaper for the organization. And that's what we have been doing. If they retire 2 or 3, we'll bring in some the people within the core mandate. So that is our experience with this. We looked at the job and we say we do not need many of them. So we can bring in people to support the core mandate. Thank you.
Well done. Yeah, well done. I think that is extremely important for you to be able to look at your core mandate and say, what do we need? So a wide range of strategies, just like what says on this slide, can be employed to address the succession challenges that you have in place. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Do you just quickly backfill, or do you really look at the needs of the business? Or do you get bulldozed to the corner and just say, okay, fine, I gave my opinion. Naliwe liwalo. Anyway, this is not my mother's company. I'm looking, I'm going. Anybody? Or some of the challenges that you have faced, and maybe we can give you some suggestions around it. Parallel approaches to succession planning. Looking at the core business, at the mandate, what your vision, your strategy, your objectives of the organization say. Anybody else? No? Okay. So automatic filling of positions should not be it. If you take anything, then that should be one of the core things that you need to look at. Okay. Another approach is organizations now look at the turnover as an opportunity to recognize the way work gets done and create a more effective and efficient organization. Succession events is also an opportunity to actually increase the skills and redefine the roles associated with open positions and give the organization even more capability. Just like what we have said in the previous slide, turnover, reorganizing the way work is done, effectiveness. Can that job be done by one person now? Two jobs done by one person, and people complain and say, well, I'm overworked. But when you look at it critically, we have the opportunity to merge many jobs. How many jobs what kind of jobs can we merge? Can we merge jobs? Which kind of jobs can we merge? Which kind of jobs can we merge? Anyone? Anyone?
Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
My name is Valerie.
Yeah, hi, Valerie.
Now, first of all, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
The 3 sessions have been quite insightful.
Thank you.
So just to answer on what you're asking now, if some jobs can be merged, the experiences that we've had when someone leaves, you can just give a bit of a story. So
yeah,
during the height of COVID, around May, April there, we had, I work in an agency,
yeah.
Agency. So now one of our operations manager left. She just resigned with immediate effect and she left. So now, you see, when working in a marketing agency, you see that some roles are correlated. For example, you have client service, you have business development, and now HR and operations management. So now, after she left, we didn't have the capacity to hire. So we went back and had a sitting and talked and evaluated and said, now, if she has left and what roles, who is the next person to sit in line or even take up the role? And after talking with the HODs and the general manager, one of the HODs, the client service manager, now, according to us, how we see different organizations have different ways of naming the capacity.
Yeah.
So now the operations the client service manager is always in charge of the existing business clients that we have currently, right? And business development hunts for new business. So now this the client service manager said that he's able to take up the role because, and he gave facts explaining that after managing the businesses that we have currently, I know the field events, I do this and this and this. And then we had to critique and say, why not the business development manager? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And all that now we settled to have the client service manager take up the role. So he's now the HOD of client service to the operations manager. And he's doing quite well because he knows, you see, we say mashimo, we know the loopholes, we know what is happening in the field. He actually knows. So I don't know, am I answering what you've just asked?
Yes. Around merging, and how was it taken? He's more motivated, isn't it?
Yes, he is, because now we even assured him as a team. We had a sitting after he decided to take up the role. We had a sitting with the whole team at the office. Said because he's taking up the two roles. Let's help him. Your department, whether you fit in the ops department or the client service department, we also have to chip in and help him so that he does not have to strain.
Exactly. As long as the two really collaborate and they are very close to each other, that one does not suffer over the other. It's like, let me give you a quick explanation, and you can attest to this, everybody on this webinar. When you try to load HR and admin together, HR and admin does not go together. It's very heavy. One of them will suffer. You get what I mean? So when you merge two roles, they must be very closely interconnected and they collaborate very closely, and one of them is not going to suffer. I think that's the most important thing. I like the fact you said, well, you interrogated him, you asked him the hard questions and stuff like that. And you also must make sure that his span of control, the number of people that he's supervising, is not too large. If you supervise more than 10 people directly, you won't manage. You won't manage. That's the wrong span of control. However, if that's going to work for your organization, then that's good. And you continuously, even as he took up this role, maybe he took up in May, have you been onboarding him, asking him the hard questions? Is it going? How is it going? Are you able to achieve your targets and stuff like that? But I think that is important. Efficiency, because we are running lean. We are there. Everybody can attest on this webinar how thin organizations are. Headcount is almost going to try and make the Indian Ocean salt-free, to make it into a freshwater lake. It's not possible. Headcount is really, you must justify headcount alongside manpower planning. So important for us to be able to maximize every talent in the decisions that we make. So even when we have all that, we must also be able to support that person so that they're successful. And I'm sure that is what you're doing, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. So we are running lean, and lean, it's gonna be it. We are going to leverage more on technology and use of data to help us run the businesses. So those two parallel approaches, I mean, that is another strategy for making sure that that is running. So let's look at some very interesting ones. Anybody who has anything else to add on to that? Jobs can be merged. Do you agree that when you do HR and you do admin at the same time, especially if it's really heavy admin, one of them tends to suffer? Or you're experts, and then I need to come and learn from you. Anyone?
Catherine.
Yeah.
I think that was a very good experience to learn from the lady who has just spoken, given the experience.
Yeah.
And I note, even in our institution, the HR and administration are joined at the top level. So you would see that there is a deputy director in charge of HR and administration. And I've just heard you telling us that HR and administration, all merged, one will suffer, one may suffer. So what is your advice about this? Because the time that we were revising our HR instruments, we were advised to put HR and administration together, but they are only joined at the top levels, at the level of deputy director, HR and administration, in a way where the assistant director, human resource management, reports to that deputy director, and the assistant director administration also report to the top deputy director. So
that's fine. There's someone. Yeah. So it's very clear. There's someone doing HR and there's someone doing administration. You have a perfect structure, and someone maybe just looking at the strategy, giving the strategy, because they are technical people looking after it together. But if you are the one really to do the work, you do all the HR in a busy institution, you do admin, real admin, one of them is bound to suffer. Definitely. In a busy institution. So if you already have those two, Irene, someone taking care of HR,
Yes.
someone taking, and then there's
Yes.
there's someone who's looking at the strategic level from that level, that's fine, because
Yeah.
then it's more of
Okay, thank you.
setting the pace and stuff like that. Yeah. Anybody else of a contrary
Thank
opinion?
you.
I think
That
may I go ahead?
Yes, yeah, please.
Now that this discussion has come up, I think one of the bigger discussions we've had, not bigger, or rather, one of the areas that a lot of people have struggled with is HR reporting to finance. And I don't know, I've dealt with a lot of CEOs who insist that that's the position that they want, which I disagree with. I don't know what everybody else feels about that.
Okay, another new whatever around HR. Where should HR be reporting to? Is it to the CEO? Is it to finance?
Hello, Catherine.
Yeah.
Catherine, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, Mary here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the discussion, and can see we are moving on well.
Yeah.
What I would say about HR, one, HR, I believe, should report to the CEO, or as one of the participants said there, maybe can also report to someone at a higher level in terms of somebody at that strategic level. And for HR also mostly to report to finance. To me, that one seems like if this person in finance, mostly they don't like releasing the money, releasing the funds. So many are times whereby the things to do with HR will never move because they see like HR is just cost and nothing else. They don't even see the value that the employees are bringing into the organization. So to me, for finance, that one should be separated. And at the same time, when it comes to HR and administration, again, I feel HR should be a standalone in order to be able even to support even the admin, because at times you feel like HR, when it is a bit independent, will be able to partner with others in order now to offer the support that is required in those other departments. So I feel let it be maybe a standalone and also reporting, if possible, to the CEO or to that strategic person up there, but work closely, as the way we are saying, to work together with the other business partners. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, I agree with Mary. Anybody else who would like to contribute? Where should HR be reporting to?
Let me contribute maybe to this debate.
Yeah.
There is administration has ideally been pushed either to HR as a combination or to finance. The reason as to why sometimes it's pushed to HR is the traditional reason. HRs are idle. That's the general African approach to HR.
Yeah.
Because they never look at HR from anything other than NSSF and HIF and paying people. You know, they don't look at career development and training. The soft HR bit goes missing completely. And probably that's where you are coming from when you are saying if you are doing total HR and then you have to do administration, then it's going to bring a very big problem because of something may have to suffer.
Yeah.
But again, like it was contributed by Dr. Irene, probably, and this is my take on it, when you actually combine HR and administration under one, it's very, very easy to have an eagle's eye view of how people are operating, because administration has a lot to give you an insight as to how the organization is scanning its assets and what's going on, because it's very transactional. but not from a perspective of a supervisory level. If you have very good people who are managing the positions per se, like you have a very good HRO and you have a very good administrator, then HR and administration can be combined. It is a very good combination model. But the other interesting thing about that model is HRs are supposed to also be nice people at the end. And when you put administration, they now become the bad people. Because administration is a bit like fighting costs and being a bit nasty to people. And that does not bring the counseling part of HR very well. It dilutes it down. And so familiarity breeds contempt. So you find people in the organization when they have problems, they don't go to HR. Yeah, they just consider HR as part of the problem. And that is the most unfortunate thing. I've seen it has less success in Africa, but other places, when you go out of the country, when HR is combined with administration and managed very well, it works very, very well in terms of career development, in terms of even talent pool management, and even seeing other talents that people have from that perspective. But administration can be very nicely pushed to finance because they have the same character. There's the issue of managing costs, being nasty, removing people from resources. So they work very well together. But however, finance people are not ideally geared towards managing anything else other than the money resource aspect. That is the way the profession is taught. From the higher level, you always see financial controllers struggling, when they have to bring in other departments. And so it's a very interesting concept, really, but I've seen that where it has a problem is mainly in third world countries, where they keep pushing HR left, right, and center because they've never really understood HR. But HR ideally should report to the CEO.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think there is a lot of school for thought around people understanding the other person's role and the department's role. So around NASTI, I think it's let's divorce that around real bringing what is called mandate for the business and how will all the other departments be able to support and be able to make a significant contribution to the business. That I think everybody must be able to understand that. But that said, is that there's something about called job families, isn't it? We all know about job families. HR, admin, finance, really, they're almost in the same job family. But why do we want to have such disparities around not liking each other? That one I've never understood anyway. It's topic for another day. We can make a whole seminar around really how to collaborate within departments and stuff like that. But what I'm trying to say is that the core mandate of the organization and our organization development and structures must point to success of running the business. I think that's very important. That's the most important thing. Whether we are reorganizing, change that comes in organizations day in, day out, change is progressive. Live around where we want to change the salary scales. That's a one stop and we stop and whatever. But every day, our culture, how we evolve, positions which have been left, our succession planning, it's every day we are living that and we are working within that pressure and within that cleanness. So there's no right or wrong. I like what you have said, Catherine, traditional way of doing things. Should we always be left, should we always be drawn into tradition? We've always done these things like this. Should it be done like that? Can we do it differently? And when we do it differently, we see the results are better than compared to what we did before. I'll take you a question around doing things in the traditional way. When children in this country did their class 8 exams and did their form 4 exams, we used to mark those exams for 3 3 months. We mark them in 3 days. We put them there in a cabinet to unveil them in February. When the new minister came and said, I want the results out in 3 days, first when he was giving his speech and whatever, and you must listen to that clip, he asked them, why do we do things like this? They said, we've always done them like this. There was no other explanation. We've always done them like this. And then he said, I want you to change. There was resistance. He says, you do it. And now everybody is happy. We just wonder, why were we doing it like that? Because we've always done things like that. Sometimes we need a firm stand of not using democracy and saying we have to change and we have to move. We have to change, we must work together. So the mandate of what are we trying to achieve should always be our question. As we go to work, as we do our work, what are we trying to achieve? What do I want the best? What do I want to achieve in this organization? Then it gives us clarity. So whether HR should report to finance, operations, or whatever it is, again, traditional. I think in good aspect because the leader of the organization heads it and surrounds himself with experts to be able to do it. So while HR, which is a core mandate, brings in people to do the business of the day, would be told to report to another department, fails me, and I totally fail to understand why it should be. HR should actually report to the CEO and should be second in command, if anything. Yeah. We should fight for our position. Second in command. I say this because the CEO, or whether you call him MD, president, whatever you call him, the head of the organization, institution, should be so alive to the fact that I know everything that is happening in the talent in this organization. Me, as Catherine, I should be telling the CEO, this is what's happening around succession planning. This is what's happening around leadership. This is what's happening around. These are the programs in place to make sure that the business of the day is running the way it should be. So it's for the success of the business. The leader must understand the talent that he has in the organization and how that talent is helping achieve the objectives of the business. If it is not that, if he's taking it from a third party, he's bound to fail. If anything, if you've attended some of the talks that I have given, I always say, if your office is 10 kilometers away from the MD, tomorrow, Monday, in fact, if you can go to the office tomorrow, move your office next to the MD and tell him I'm coming to sit right next to you because I have just discovered how important the function of HR is, and it must mix next to you. When he walks into his office, he sees HR. How are we doing in this department? This department is doing like this, and there's a problem. Can we talk about this challenge before you go to your office? That's the only time you'll be able to pass your agendas. Like now you want to go in with succession planning as a standalone, as a good program to run for the organization. If you're not sitting next to the MD, there's a big problem. There is a big problem. And those are the traditional ways of doing things, which sometimes have been overtaken by the way the things are running. And then you wonder why your competition is doing better. Your competition is doing better because they have embraced the new things that need to be done. But again, I keep on saying these are ideal situations. It could be difficult, but you have the opportunity to start driving those conversations around. Can we have a divorce, a messy one sometimes, divorcing from finance? Can we have, or can we have an amicable one? And it should be amicable because you work closely together. Remember job families, okay? Yeah. Anybody would like to add something before we move on? Always a nice discussion around who reports to who. And it feels nice to report to the CEO, on your whatever. Whom do you report to? I report to the CEO. We make those decisions. I make decisions for the organization. It feels good, I think it grows you as a person because you make hard decisions for the business. Anybody of a contrary opinion even? Or it can't work. I just say things here and you just say, oh, I wish you knew where we are. Or you guys are ahead of time.
Maybe can I contribute?
Yeah. Who's on the line? Okay, I think the gentleman, then the lady. Yes, Sabrina, then Tuva.
Okay. I support succession planning, and then the idea that HR should always report to the CEO. But my issue most of the time is, we are the ones as HR we're supposed to own. We're supposed to actually be at the top near the CEO, but most of the time I feel like top HR leadership lets HR down, because as a top leader in HR, you're supposed to empower the people down, so that when things are asked, we are there to always deliver on time. But most of the time you see that issues to do with HR are pushed to other departments to handle. You'll see, instead of the people who are supposed to be in the line of HR dealing with issues, somehow they don't know what is happening around. So most of the time, the institution wants something from the HRs. Then the HRs tend to be slow. But sometimes it's not them. It's the empowerment is not enough. They're not empowered. Then the training they receive is less. And yet we are the ones who are supposed to be driving all this. So you find the HR and the delivers issues to do with HR at the end of the day are pushed to other departments to deal with in the institution. Even the admins are dealing with the HR issues. Then at the end of the day, HRs who are qualified, who are supposed to be doing the HR work, you find that they end up doing most of the paperwork. So it is good that HR leadership to own and empower the people behind them, so that they can be able to move the institution to achieve that mandate.
Yeah, I agree, Sabrina. I'll take Tuva, and then maybe Tuva will add on to that as well. Tuva?
Okay, mine is just to say that we have to confirm our presence in organizations. You see, finance is about numbers, and statistics speak. Even when you are communicating and you communicate with statistics, then it becomes very easy for you to sell your ideas. So we all know that at times we make HR be such a soft skill to the extent that we get lost in the organization. So what I would like to say is this, that we need to ensure that we use HR metrics, because now when we get into the board and we use those numbers to confirm our cases, even for the issues of succession planning, if we get there and we are talking about those factors like age, when we are talking about the ranking of positions, can we be in a position to use statistics to drive our point? Like what I've discovered in my case, I have been preparing quarterly reports for the board, and I've tried as much as possible to include a lot of metrics, so that now the HR meeting is the one that takes even longer than the finance meetings, because there are a lot of discussions around numbers. There are a lot of discussions about recommendations to that committee in terms of the numbers that we have. Because there are a lot of things that we can communicate to the board so that they're in a position to know where the organization is going. So that is very important, and that's what is in finance. So if now we can marry the soft and the hard in terms of statistics, then we will also be up there in the organization.
Yeah, data. If we are not using data, we are not being hard. We must go in with the numbers, in with the facts, not the story. The story must be backed with facts, and many of us then shy away from looking at the data. But what I keep on saying, start small, start even small, start even with, this organization has 100 employees. Out of these, 15 are female, 85 are male. Do the percentage. And then from there, start building your numbers. Out of these, we have leave days. We have 21 leave days. Out of these, our exposure to this year's leave days is this amount of money. Go in with numbers, simple numbers. We had 20 million for training. We have used 10 million. Return on investment, absenteeism rate in this organization. I have ran the data. We're at every week, someone is taking off leave for whatever man-hour days which are lost. And then they will ask you, so what are people ailing from this organization? It is not what people are ailing from. It is the number of man-hour lost days. What does that mean to the productivity of the business? So it's not in that, they like to hear the story. They like to hear the story behind. You go in with facts and figures. I think start small. Have a dashboard in your office every day where we have 8 open positions. Out of the 90 days that our turnaround time for recruitment, 8 are in green because we are doing well. We are at 65 days, and 65 days at the statistics, we should be at the offer stage, and there it is. The other 3 were in the red because it took us 2 weeks, 3 weeks to decide whether we want to reorganize this position. Go in with data that really supports, and based on that, the return on investment in this, I think we deserve 1 more day in this organization for, instead of 21 days, we need 22 days for leave. I see us working towards that, and that it costs us, the 1 day will cost us this amount of money, and this amount of money we're able to get it there. And you're looking at finance and finances. I think that's fine. We can be able to do that. So start small. I like what Tuva is saying, start small. So back to Sabrina, where we are in a department of 20 HR people. The HR head is letting us down. Not taking the agenda of HR fully, and everybody else is doing HR for us. And people thinking, then what is HR here for? We must support and that's why I said in the beginning, we must be able to have those hard discussions around, hey, we like you as our head of department, but we don't feel that the organization is taking us seriously. You are taking that conversation round the bend, not attacking the person, but now saying our department, we must be felt now, and let's have a strategy of how that's going to be done. Warm them in, bring them in, and telling them that we want success, we want HR to be the best. Maybe depending on their personality, they've been there again, the traditional way of doing HR. Me, I'm the head. There's nothing people are telling me. After all, I have the soldiers to work for me, but the soldiers need direction from you. You need to hold their hand. You need to bite the bullet from them when they do the wrong thing. Own it, go to the management meeting and say, I own the mistake. But when you come back, you go back to a meeting and call the department and say, I bit the bullet for you guys there, but let's debrief and let's look what could have done better. I know it's not an ideal situation. Some leaders will not listen because of their personality and the way they are. Traditional silos, after all, I know it all, but start small where you can. Show the milestones that we're able to create. Harder said than done, but someone has to start somewhere. And I know some institutions are very large. There's a lot of silos, there's a lot of ego, and it's only ego that really stands in the way of our success. Okay. Something else I want to dive onto this slide because it's very and this is it's a very good one for anyone who's looking at parallel approaches, immediate now and putting people in the talent pool. Anything burning in that discussion?
Okay, Kennedy here.
Yeah, hi Kennedy.
My view is a little bit different from my colleagues. when you are looking at the bottleneck issue of HR and versus the other departments in the organization, I think we are restricted by the structure issue. Issue in the organization. You find most of the organization are bureaucratic organization, where information to pass from one department to the other until it reaches the top management. There's a lot of bureaucracy in between. You must pass a certain department so that that department can pass that information to the other department, so that department can pass it to the other department. And in the end, you find the way the information was relayed, the first department to the second one, it's not the way it's going to end up in the top management. So you find if we can look at it from the structure, from vertical structure to horizontal structure, I think that would be of help than thinking of HR in the vertical structure, because you find that most organizations, most in Africa, that is, someone talked about the third world countries. In Africa, most organizations are still embracing the traditional structures of running organization, and you find that a very crucial department in the organization is not felt, is ranked at a very lower level, such that whatever they do is not felt at the top. And the problem is because the things they do may be very crucial than the other departments who are above them, but because the structure is restricting these people to remain there, and mostly it comes in because of the monetary issue.
Exactly.
And that an organization doesn't want to pay a certain group of people in a certain department much money, so they restrict those people down there until the problems. For example, in HR department, we have a lot of problems, and we run the organization, because an organization to succeed, you need those people. And who is in charge of the people? The HR department. So if the HR department fails, the organization fails. So my proposal is that we look at the organizational structure from hierarchical perspective to an horizontal perspective. That one will help. But if we keep on complaining about we have to talk to the CEO, and there is that structure, it will take us ages to reach there. But if we look at it from the structure point of view and we discuss the structure, we go to the higher departments and talk about it in the structure perspective, I think they will be able to listen better than if we go and complain that our department is being left out in the structure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kennedy. There is a lot of school for thought, and I agree around structure. I agree around whatever. But two things. A structure is formed from the kind of culture we have in an organization. If your culture is not right for us to be able to discuss that, open communication, our communication strategy, how we communicate with each other, it will become extremely, whether we report to finance, whether we report to the CEO, whether job families are put together. The moment we don't have a people-centric culture, there's nothing we will talk about. Whether we have top heavy, bottom heavy, middle heavy, whatever it is, a structure is just but a structure that can bring a lot of red tape. And I agree, a lot of red tape in terms of who talks to what. I have to make an appointment to go and see the CEO on the 12th floor. It will take me 4 days to go to the CEO. He cannot get an email because the emails are filtered by someone to read for them. They think this is not good for the CEO to hear. They take it out, the suggestion box. Even if we have it, it's read by someone else. It doesn't go to the... My gosh, we'll never get it right, unfortunately. So if we are able to fix our culture, then the structure, the strategy follows into place. And you'll all agree with me that we want to have lean organizations, and these lean organizations, we still don't want to address the root problem. The roots are so deep in the organization, in terms of the communication, the structure, the way. So we start on the flip side. We start with the secondary instead of starting with the primary. The primary is the culture, good attitude, and seeding our egos. After that, we say, okay, fine, we are happy. Now we have roho imekuwa, what do we call it? Tumeongea yetu yote ya roho, we okay. We are going to be talking to each other. How would we want a structure that really makes me speak to the CEO when I want to speak to the CEO? I can speak to the driver when I want to speak to the driver. The driver doesn't feel that the HR is coming, they cut the corner. The CFO has gone to the board and we're just thinking, oh my God, we will not get a salary increment. We didn't even discuss with, The moment we have a strong communication, open strategy, and approaches to communication, we will never be able to run these lean structures. We'll just be here on paper without taking it to action. So there's a lot to be done in organizations. How can we help? We all know it's all about people. These structures are we're the ones who create them. We put them on paper and say, this is the structure, but we can put away those papers and create structures which are... They don't have borders. They don't have silos. But again, it's just where we come from, around the culture in that organization. So there's a lot to be said around how we feel working in those organizations, whom we can talk to, whom we trust. How is this organization going to be successful? And unfortunately, we continue mark timing until we leave, leaving us not to do the real job that we have been called to do, about performance management, succession planning, wellness programs, product agility, diversity, things that are really going to help the organization grow. Because we are still there thinking, okay, it's not working. We miss the bigger picture, and we miss the bigger picture around the noise that we have created ourselves, especially the leadership of the organization. So when you have those if you have opportunities to talk to the leadership, start breaking it down. Start saying, we need to talk more. We need to be a bit more agile. We need to discuss. And again, as I said, it takes guts. It also takes people's personality. Some people think, this hard talk that you want us to have, or you want to manage me out and then the CEO. So it's difficult. So there is no one solution that fits it all. It's organization to organization. But I keep on saying the thing that really ails many organizations is ego, and then the kind of culture that they have created. You agree with me? And we'll continue having those discussions. Okay, great. So, thank you. I feel, really nice around the discussions, succession planning and use of technology, succession now and stuff, and all the challenges that come with it here. Okay. So let's move in the interest of time as well. So you can see this succession pool development, and we can see replacement planning process. Again, just to take you back, whether we really integrate when someone leaves and whether we just backfill because we need to backfill. So we have the leadership profile, and everybody from the lowest cadre in the organization to the highest cadre. They have a leadership role to play. You know, they manage themselves. They are leaders in their own right. So we have the leadership profile that actually looks at the replacement planning process and the succession pool development of where we want to go and where we want to be. So there's the critical needs assessment, there's the gap analysis, and there's the identification of strategies to close those gaps. Very easy. We have the development activities, the rotational assignments, the leadership training, the 360-degree feedback, which many of us are not using. Because we don't want to be told the truth. The truth hurts, you know. Catherine, you're not a good team player. You're always so judgmental, you're opinionated, you have a bad attitude, you know, and you don't want to call out what it is because we want to protect people. You know, we want to make sure that they feel good. But we should be able to correct people with diplomacy. I think that's what the most important thing, not just bashing them, for them to be able to look at themselves and say, anyway, there I fail, and people see it. So using the Johari window. So, and then that's 360-degree feedback. Tell me when's the last time, even you as a leader in the organization, or even when the head of your department, ask them, please give me authentic feedback about me. Give me honest feedback about me. You know, what are the areas that I need to improve? Which areas do you think I need to continue doing because I do them well? Anybody? This year even, whether we are working virtually, whether we are working from the office or whatever it is, have you really taken time to get feedback? And not just from your team, expand it further. You know, take someone else from another department, 2 people from another department, you know, and really get feedback. Take it even further with the suppliers that you work with, you know, the people you work very closely with, like your insurance agencies and wellness programs people, you know, let them really give you feedback as an individual for you to know where you are. So it works to grow you, it works to grow everybody in the organization. But there's a lot of malice. Again, if your culture is not right, people will give you feedback until you feel that it's really they're targeting you. So we must be mature enough in terms of using the 360 feedback system of evaluating our performance and evaluating ourselves as individuals. So succession pool development, around it, we look at the long-term needs for assessment, selection, and monitoring the pool participants, like what we've said, career development around coaching, mentoring, and goal setting. I like that example where it was put, you know, one of them said, I have someone in this talent pool that doesn't need to be there. Because the selection and monitoring was done by someone else. It was not done objectively. And then now what happens is that it's very hard for them to advance around the things that they need to do because they are struggling in the goal setting process. They're always behind. They can't pull their weight. So it comes again to what kind of development activities we'll be putting in place, the rotational assessments that we are putting in place, again, the leadership development, and having a framework to be able to put that in, whatever. So again, the final thing, it will be leading us to selection and transition. Any question around that? A bit technical, isn't it? But
I have just a quick, maybe I missed it, Catherine. Yes. The leadership profile and the linkage to those two parts. Maybe repeat a little bit because I think I missed something on that. I'm just trying to see the link with the leadership profile and then how you link it to the critical needs assessment, the long-term and the long-term needs on the succession planning pool. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we are talking about the parallel approach. We already know the two very critical ones. So we say the leadership profile for our organization, and we say that everybody is a leader in the organization, whatever cadre, because you remember we said that succession planning is not just for the HODs, it's not just for the C-suite, it's not also for your it's not only also for your critical positions, it's across board the organization. Everybody needs to be looked at as if we feel that they are good enough to be in the succession pool. So we have a leadership profile. So we look at that. And then after that, we look at the replacement planning process, if it's replacement of backfilling of a position, and people who will be coming into the succession planning development platform. So in this replacement planning, you look at the critical needs assessment. You identify the gaps because it's short term. You remember immediate, short term, that is where we want to put whatever. But in succession planning, we are looking at the long-term process in the organization. I mean, it is return on investment now. It's not like, but it's long term. We are putting you here to be ready in 6 months. We are putting you here to be ready in 2 years. We are putting you ready to be here, ready in 3 years for something. So that's why we are calling long-term needs assessment, and we also talk about the competency pillars, reskilling, upskilling, looking into the kind of products that the organization is planning to move into. If we are just staying where we are, competition will come and outsmart us. So business development is always evolving around the needs of the business so that we can continue being an ongoing profit concern if you were to sell the business and something like that. So coming back to the leadership profile is looking at the individual and say, are you going to be replacement? If we were to replace immediate now, what do we need to look into? If we were to look into the succession planning, what do we need to look into? Is that clear?
Yes.
Clear now? Yeah. Anybody else? A question on this? A bit technical?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise something.
Yeah.
On the aspect of starting small, because some things like this sometimes look very theoretical. And when you now get to look at the CEO who is just looking at you like, this is the wave you had over the weekend, and I just want to look at this issue of the 360-degree feedback, which is a feared thing. Especially people, ideally, because of the human nature, we are not inclined to take negative feedback. We want bonga points all the time. But what happens in this scenario is you can start, because I've done like a HR audit for a pharmaceutical company. Yeah. And you begin, even if you can't do the 360, you can begin with peer reviews just within the departments, but get an external person to help you, because when it's internal, of course, people's handwritings are known because we've been traditionally there. So like for me, the way I do it is I simply take that feedback and have it typed, without names, they will not know who it was.
Yeah.
But it has actually been a shocker to most people, where you think you are so famous. When you start reading the strengths and the weaknesses from how people see you, some people actually changed. There was an organization where it was exposed like all the quality control people were actually being forced to sleep with supervisors to maintain their jobs. But they had no platform to talk about this because the top person was an Indian. And because they were an expatriate, they were held hostage by these people. So they kept the best. They were not evaluating the turnover. Yeah, why were people leaving? And then some of these people, you take them through systems where you don't even know whether some people are HIV positive, but they are forcing young people from the university in order to sustain that job, that they need to do some of these things. And it was a shock, to them, because ideally that peer review is what exposed that weakness. So in our own way as HRs, you can begin peer reviews and maybe put a small budget to have an external person come and do it and manage it from the outside, and then just give back that, just to give an idea about this replacement planning process. That's how I'm looking at it from that perspective.
Yeah. It breaks my heart when people have to hold on to their jobs because of a fear, and they're being victimized, and things around sexual harassment and bullying. They hold on to their jobs. It really ticks me off as an individual, because then I can't just believe that someone can go home and at the end of the day really having intimidated someone because of in that nature. It's really wrong. But anyway, it happens. 360 can bring out the ugliness of an organization, and where you think, well, I'm the star, and people just don't feel you. They just work with you because they don't have another alternative. Given another alternative, they would leave. People leave jobs because of their supervisor. So that's why I say start small with your data. What is my turnover in this organization? At which department has the highest turnover? And start putting down the dots of where it is. Yeah. So true. You can have, and you can make it anonymous. There are many open platform tools that people don't have to write anymore. They can type. But again, I say it calls for maturity. Even that peer review, it calls for maturity. Sometimes an external person, because they have nothing to hide and they have nothing to lose, will come and really will be more objective in terms of running that for you, especially if your culture is not people-centric. Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else around the parallel approaches to succession planning? If I go to my last of the slides as we close. Okay, great. Feel free to time in. Feel free to time in as we go. Okay. So innovative approaches. This is where, how can I innovate? So these are traditional things. What can I do? I need to move forward with this. I don't know how to do it and stuff like that. So what do you think things are some of the things that you can do differently, even from the discussions that we have held over the 3-part series? In this, anything that has been an aha moment, I can do this, I've just been doing it. I've been thinking about it in a very traditional way. Anything that can help you?
Yes. Catherine, it's not an innovative approach, but it's something that has been on my mind since the first session. And this is, when you leave, what happens? And I think this has been on my mind quite a lot. When you leave, what happens to you? What have you left in place a pipeline or a system? And I remember in the beginning, someone was talking about the head of the HR and some of the things that we are doing to share information and to really make sure that within our department, the information is there, our strategies are known, and even when you're going to the boards to represent and to make presentations about HR, that my team knows about it. So it's really been on my mind all along. As much as I'm talking about, we are talking about succession plan in the organization, back home in your own team or in my own team, am I thinking about it? What happens if I leave? So even beyond going to the entire organization, what has been on my mind is, for me and my team, what happens? So it's really been constantly going on.
Yeah. Do you see a successor? What are you going to do about it? There should be no gap. I like that you're really taking it very close home and taking it personally. Do you see, is it a natural progression that the next person in line should be the one taking up the shoes? Or do you see that the third person in line actually is the much better person, and how are you going to make sure that this other person who everybody thinks is the natural choice comes and you have that discussion and say, no, unfortunately not. I see number 3 as being the natural choice of this, and what are you going to do to make sure that that is is accepted in the team, because we always think it's, and what do deputies do? I don't understand. Deputy governor, what do they do? No wonder they keep asking. Deputy MD, what do these people do? Anyway, that's another discussion. I don't understand about us having deputies and another traditional way of thinking. Because what would they be doing? So does that mean that they only work when you are not there? Anyway, I'm not trying to poke a lot of holes, but I'm just trying to think around when you say deputy HR manager, does it really work and stuff like that? Yeah. Anyway, so good discussions around and innovative ways if we can there. So there are a number of innovative ways and advances in succession planning. Some of these include implementing different ways of thinking, really putting out a different heart about the succession challenge, while some are specific tools or techniques that help organizations address succession planning. And I'll quickly just put up, it's upside down. If you are coming for a presentation in a board, they would be doing like this. I'm sure all of you guys are doing like this or like this, isn't it? Sorry about that. Try to put it in front, but so we can have the early warning, really innovative approaches, advanced workforce planning, decision analytics, organizational spiderweb, selection and transition forces, focus, knowledge mapping, and systems evaluation. Anybody who has heard of these, I'm sure when we start talking about them, you'll say, but I do them. Kudos, because we said when we put our experience here of all the people in this webinar, our work experience put together will be thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Everybody coming in with different whatever. So in the past, many succession decisions were made in an informal way or very instinctive in nature. However, in modern times, organizations are increasingly focusing on making talent decisions more objective based on data. This proves that talent decisions are no different than other business decisions, so that they can be based on data and facts rather than intuition and external factors. Okay, so an integrated really view is where we say this is the integrated view, where we say it was gut feeling. This other person is going to be, but we want to make sure that those decisions are really based on objectives and based on data. Okay, I'll quickly go through them, then we can wrap it up in terms of where it is. So the talent pool, another way of, and we've seen these things. So it's just to highlight to you what you can do and some of the things that can work in your organization. So you can say talent pools are easy way of putting through, or really an early warning and stuff like that. So it's for you to look into exactly what would work in your organization with all these. Some of them might work, some of them might not work, but are you able just to think through them after this webinar and say, I'll keep them in the front banner for me to know that when succession planning approaches and innovative ways within my organization, I'm able to get them done. Okay. So talent pool is very common, and I will not belabor that factor. High potentials, and we said high potentials are people with really good attitude. Good attitude people bring in an element of self-learning. They take extra initiative. They drive the business, and they plan for themselves most of the times. So, however, organization can dramatically expand their use of talent pools in a better way by identifying, tracking, and managing various cohorts of staff, different cohorts, these critical positions is one cohort, where we want to go in terms of business development, competencies that we'll need for the future is another cohort of people, looking. You're not a magician, like I say, but you must be able to look into the future and see what your business will need, working very closely with the business development so that you're able to do manpower planning, reskilling, upskilling, as what I have continuously said today is very important. Okay. Early warning. The development of early warning mechanisms around potential talent issues. People who want to leave your organization. How do you pick them out? How do you know that Catherine wants to leave now? How do you know that Grace is looking? Having a strong business acumen is important. Having to listen to the said and to the unsaid. The corridor talk once in a while really helps you to know what people are looking. I hear nowadays when people start updating their LinkedIn pages, is a sign of maybe they're looking or stuff like that. Early warning signs, the development of early warning mechanisms around potential talent issues is one of the fastest growing trends in succession planning. This including significant focus on predictive turnover modeling. And in your 5 years plan, now it's even bringing it maybe to 4 years, you're able to look, hey, there's a trend here. How do I make sure that I arrest it before it actually actualizes? So how am I going to, like what someone has just said, I am really thinking about my department. How am I going to make sure that I let them stay? What cherries will I be putting on top of the cake to know that I value them and I am looking after their interest? Am I going to give them more work? Am I going to stretch them further? Am I going to rotate them? So that the early warning stage of people starting to think that I want to leave my organization, my current organization, for something else, they start packing that into the background and they start thinking, well, because you have already identified early warning. In fact, early warning should be something that every HR should be so attuned to talent, good talent in the organization, to try and make sure that that trend does not manifest itself into the reality of you getting a resignation letter that someone is actually going. Okay. Advanced workforce planning. This is where every HR says, but I'm not a magician, including me. I don't know what we'll need into the future. Who knew what we were going to need into the future in March when businesses were closed? When we saw we don't even need this position anymore. The business can do away with it, and we did away with it very painfully. We didn't know that our businesses could quickly innovate itself into e-commerce. And now we are going to look for experts in IT and digital marketing for us to be able to move ahead and whatever. So another fast emerging trend in succession planning is to link succession planning to workforce planning. The business, I said, work very closely with the business development people so that we know what's going to happen, what competencies we are moving into. Our strategy is evolving, it's changing every day for us to be able to know. Now, organizations are increasingly seeking to move to a more disciplined approach to workforce planning that is much more advanced, because we need this person to come into to fill this position compared to saying, okay, we'll make sure that we have the traditional positions, from a driver to the messenger to the CEO, to HR, to marketing and whatever. But we must be more specific to the strategies of the business and bring those people who will actually be to help the business grow. The core mandate, the core people, and the ones that we can actually outsource, we should be able to outsource them. So decision analytics, where many of us are a bit more scared of driving into this. Advance in technology and decision-making support has enabled organizations to bring together more data and make better talent decisions. Machine learning, chat boxes for us to be able to bring in the right talent. However, analysis of the available data is just as important as the access to that data. So we must be able to get the data and interpret the data. And sometimes we have to work with other departments for us to be able to get that data. So don't shy away from going to ask for data from those departments so that you can be able to make informed decisions. The focus on decision analysis is due to an increased focus on use of tools for cost-benefit analysis around talent decisions. Any question around there? Data analytics, decision analytics, so that we really have data to say we need 3 quality assurance people and not 4. And it is based on the data, on the kind of work that we do in this organization. Okay. Organization Superweb. Who has heard of it? Just as a spider web is very intricate, takes a lot of time to be done by the spider, but it's a very strong. I mean, you just think the spider being able to go from this web to the next, this web to the next. It's intricate and it balances very well. Succession planning decisions in the past have generally been focused on finding the best candidate for the position, isn't it? But now we want to have the most suitable candidate for the position. For example, if a leader will soon be retiring, there is a significant effort to put on evaluating the credentials of a potential internal and external candidate to determine the best skill fit. However, usually minimal attention is paid to ripple effects of a given decision. What does that mean? We go out, find the best candidate. But now we want to make sure that as much as possible, we expand our antennas to the farthest end of the organization. It's not necessarily that we'll get the leader. And sometimes it's a surprise that we might not get the leader from the C-suite. We might even get it from a head of department. But what does that mean for the people in the C-suite? That's always the question that we do not want to ask, because the first thing we'll say is that they will become demotivated and they will not accept this person. Or again, we want to bring from outside. Oh, you brought someone outside, and we make it difficult. So let's know that we can really have a ripple effect around looking for the most ideal candidate to come and work in an organization, and it will cause some ripple effect that people will be uncomfortable with. But what is the role of HR when this ripple effect is happening? Is for them to position themselves and say, we want the most suitable candidate for this position. It is not just the natural choice of what we've always thought about. Let's think out of the box for us to be able to do that. Yeah. Internal candidate A. So if an internal candidate A is determined to be the best from the standpoint of skills, experience, and interest, the following considerations are usually ignored in the past. What happens to the business unit that candidate A will come from? Is there a ready replacement for candidate A in the current role? Will critical business priorities suffer if candidate A leaves their current role? If it was an external candidate, what would be the potential impact on the internal candidates who were passed over? And I've talked about that. We've talked about that all the time. Now, all of these considerations are getting greater attention in organizations, and we must attest to that, and we hope that they are. These approaches now include how to analyze the downstream impacts of various succession options at not just the next level, but through the multiple layers in the organization. If Catherine is to leave head of department, what happens? The ripple effect. How are we going to pull up everybody? And that's why we say it's a strong spider web, and positions, the ripple effects. When you move one person, the ripple effects happens in the whole organization. If you bring in someone, the ripple effect of someone being accepted in that organization really has to be also be interrogated and asked whether that is the right thing. So that's what we are saying about the organization spider web, the ripple effect that it leaves in every position, in the position that is left. So you promote Catherine, Grace takes over. Grace takes over. Alice takes over, you know, the ripple effect of making sure that the whole organization is again structured. And we must also interrogate, is that the right thing for us to be able to do at that point? Okay. So very quickly around succession and transition focus. Succession planning is now becoming increasingly focused around selection and transition. Now organizations are focusing on a more disciplined and objective criteria in determining how to address a particular succession need. They are also increasing their focus on how they manage the actual transition in the organization. In the past, so much effort was put into the selection process that the transition activities were almost non-existent. We agree. Transition. We are transitioning. The ripple effect. Now, it was just, let's fill the position. But now we are talking, let's talk about the transition and organizational change around the selection of the positions that have been left in the organization. And I'll take questions quickly from there. Okay. Organizations assumed in the past that if it was the right candidate chosen, their success in the new role would be assured. It is not. You remember about onboarding, orientation, making people successful in their roles. Many a times is when we do not think about that person. We just think, well, they're ready. Maybe they are not ready. A lot of work needs to be done around transition focus on that person and the other people who are going to also occupy the positions which have been left. Organizations have now started focusing on transition activities such as including combinations of training, mentoring and coaching, and of course, you know, I love coaching, job experiences, relation building assessment, and a host of other factors related to ensuring job successes. In all cases, the progress of the successor is closely monitored to ensure that they are both achieving the goals of the position as well developing themselves appropriately. You agree with that? We agree with that? Okay, so let me quickly go to the last slide of our webinar today. I know time has really run out. Knowledge mapping. What is knowledge? Organizations are increasingly focusing on minimizing the knowledge loss that often occurs when turnover is lost. Turnover in a position. And why we say that is because people have a lot of institutional knowledge. If I leave, even when you say, and please don't go and tell us trade secrets, you take away all the files, you take everything, but you forget to take my head. And forgetting to take my head, of course, because you cannot take my head, is how you transit, how we separate. Me and you separate from an organization. If you treat me well during the separation process, I will not be going yapping around your trade secrets and what makes you a successful organization. I will hold your confidential information with confidence because I'm mature enough. I will use the information that I have to leverage on my own success, but not to shoot you down. You know, so even mapping, the goal of the efforts is to transition knowledge in a staff person's head in an organization, knowledge through the succession known as knowledge mapping. So we are passing on that knowledge. So when Catherine leaves, everybody else knows what happens in that department. The process helps the organization identify, prioritize documents, and disseminate knowledge that is critical to the operations of the organization. That knowledge, the tacit and the tangible knowledge, you leave it there, but we are actually passing it on from time to time. We are saying, let's have a knowledge management session. And for us to be able to look at succession planning, it's not just, oh, they've left and they've left with all the knowledge, but deliberately making sure that that knowledge is being passed from one person to the other in a very deliberate way. This is a very wide scope, and it is important that organizations focus on their efforts on the components of each job and the criteria and that cannot be intuitively figured out when someone steps into a new role. So the people who have been left must know that this is how this process is done. And Catherine doesn't have to be called upon. Oh, Catherine, please help us. How is it? We must deliberately be able to pass that knowledge, the said and the unsaid, to the people who are in the line of succession planning. That marks the end of this presentation. So I'll take questions and answers. I'll open it to where we started. Whether you are able to look at these innovative approaches in succession planning within the next few minutes, so that I'm able to end and join another meeting that is actually about to start. I'll stop sharing my desktop and go back to ask any questions. How was it? Did you find it useful? I'll rush you through the last these last few minutes. Did you find it useful? What are your takeaways? What are your takeaways from this three-part seminar?
Okay, it's Kennedy.
Well, maybe I can comment.
Yeah. Hi, Kennedy.
Yes, hi. So mine is a question concerning the trending issue of technology.
Yeah.
You find that in some organization, some positions, critical positions, for example, the IT area, with this pandemic, some positions, maybe in an organization, it was discussed, were not available. Yeah, because of integration of technology, you find that even if you try to train someone to take those positions, they will start at a very low performance. And an organization needs a person who wants to perform at a very high level of performance. So in such a case, do you think we need a fresh mind or a fresh skill from outside, or we need to train the person inside to achieve the highest levels of performance? Which one do you prefer?
Well, there's no right or wrong, but if really you don't have the competencies in the organization, the best approach is to bring in someone new that really has the competencies, the skills, and is able to run that role quickly and work with other people to bring them to speed. So there's no need of you struggling as a business, and you know it will take you 6 months, and you don't have the luxury of 6 months. So the best thing is to actually bring someone new and let them train the other people. That's what I would say, because then you would be doing a disservice to the business, definitely. Yeah. So these skills that you do not have, take them through the whatever. Bring in new people. Yeah. Margaret needs to mute.
Because after I did the facial, when my face.
Okay, Margaret, you need to mute.
Hello.
Hi, Christine.
Yes, hi, Catherine. Thank you for that session once again on succession planning. And just
Margaret, please mute your. How do I mute Margaret? Hi, Margaret. Hi, Margaret. Please mute your. Margaret. Please mute your. Margaret.
Yeah.
Mute.
Margaret Modara. Please mute your mic.
Oh, she's in me.
She's there? Okay, great. Okay,
Yeah,
so Christine, let's go ahead.
Yeah, as I was saying, also just to add on what my colleague was asking, I mean, I've forgotten his name.
Yeah, Kennedy.
Kennedy, I think also when you're looking at such a scenario, if it's a new role and indeed there are no skills and competencies within the organization, it is important to source externally.
But in a scenario where it is maybe a mid-level position and there is opportunity for like a person to actually rise to that position internally, you can also, and you can fight being the operative word. You can fight against that by, number one, you look at let's say, for example, you're looking for a branch manager for let's say the next branch that is going to open. You look at how long does it take for an external hire to start meeting targets, like in terms of performance review data, maybe. You can, or how long does it take for an individual to meet hard targets? How long does it take for the person to actually improve, fit into the environment? How do they perform in the core competencies? I don't know how other organizations do their performance reviews, but if you incorporate core competencies in your performance reviews and you actually score them, you can also take this data and then now versus you can do a what if analysis. So what if we take somebody who is already internally, like you said, Catherine, somebody who is already within the organizations, knows the know-how, the systems, the policies, and everything. So you take that information and do a what if analysis, and then from there you can be able to actually to defend the idea of hiring internally versus hiring externally. Yes,
it's true. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. I like. So it's a hybrid. It depends on what you really are looking at in your organization. I think that's extremely important for you to be able to support the business. I think the most important thing is that able to develop your people and also support the business. Okay. Thank you all for turning in. I really thank you for all the comments that are coming into on the chat. Thank you for turning in. And just before I go, I'd like to bring some information from the Institute on behalf of Dan, is that, there is the 4th annual HR Symposium coming up, and it will be held between the 12th and the 10th and the 12th of November, a couple of days from now. So please plan to attend. It will be in Naivasha at Lake Naivasha Resort. That's where the conference will be held. It's going to earn 6 CPD points. So I think that's also very important for you to know that you'll be earning your CPD points. And the return on investment is 33,000 shillings. The topic that the theme for the conference will be HR transformation, unveiling the future. I think that's great. That's really great. So registration is ongoing. The Institute has started receiving interest for the people who will be going. And I hope that we can see as many of you in the 4th conference. I believe the people who have been able to attend the past 3 conferences will attest great learnings, great interactions, ability to network and to get to the next level. So let's keep the conversations going. And I wish you all the best. Thanks for turning up lots, and thanks for the feedback. I really enjoyed interacting with you for the 3 sessions, and for me is to wish you God's blessings until we meet again. Okay, so I'll beg to leave just to start another class. The people who are doing CHRP, please log in into the coaching class that I'm just about to take. So thank you. I hope, sorry that I had to rush the last ones, but we can always have a recap. So feel free to reach out to me, and thanks for being such a wonderful participant. Well done. It's been real. See you guys. See you next time.
See you, Catherine.